Moving on to the second game you beat in 2017, Transistor.
Ooh.
What did you think of the story?
Very cryptic. In fact, I don't think I could recite to you exactly what all happened. I remember the ending very well because I thought it was very shocking and very emotional. But the whole plot, I have a hard time remembering because the story kind of unfolds in parts. And it's usually all through reading about individual characters that you unlock their stories piece by stumbling across corpses that magically have like autobiographies or biography chips or whatever tied to it. So like you'd be walking down the street and there'd be a corpse lying on the street and you'd go over and click on it and then it would give you like a short biography about that person, and as you progress through the game you'd find other information about that person, and once you combined all these little bits of information together it sort of made up a story.
Did you like the graphics for Transistor?
Oh my goodness, I was blown away. It was such an improvement over Bastion. Just the animation and the smoothness to the gameplay was just fantastic.
Where did you learn about this game?
I've been following Kasavan since I was a high school kid back, like ever since like had access to the internet, really. He not only did the writing, he did kind of the art concept or like the world creation for the game. I was always about lists, like top 10 greatest punk bands, top of the year, top 10. Like I was always about lists. Even for movies, I'd follow Roger Ebert's movie list. And so for me, critics were a really important part of my growing up years. And Greg Kasavan was a critic that I really trusted just because he seemed to have really good taste in games. Like games that he recommended, I ended up really enjoying. And seeing his work with Bastion, which I was really excited about Bastion when it first came out. Not so much a fan of it, to be completely honest. A lot of people love that game, think it's better than Transistor, but Transistor really was the game that I was attracted to the world. I thought the character Red was really interesting. The combat was so much fun. I think Transistor, I just think overall is just a better world, better experience, better music, better everything than Bastion. And so I was very happy to be able to say I played and beaten a game made by one of my favorite game critics.
Was the voice acting and dialogue good?
It was hit and miss. There were times I was playing the game where I was like, yeah, he just felt like he needed to write something so he could hurry up and play some Hearthstone. So like there would be times where the talking sword would say things that I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. But most of the time he was just blabbing. Like majority of the time they could have cut about 80% of the dialogue the sword made, and it wouldn't have affected the game at all. You know, it was just simply talking to be talking. And there were times even in the written dialogue, like when we're reading about some of the characters, that it was really, really good writing. It had its ups and downs.
Do you think the music was fitting?
Oh my goodness. I wish so bad I could have a copy of the soundtrack. Okay, so the music's super good, but it really ticks me off when people smell their own farts so much that they decide to sell the music for almost as much as the game itself. But come on, people. $10 or for the soundtrack? I think the game was $20 on good old games, and the soundtrack was $10. So you'd be paying $30 to get both the game and the soundtrack, which to some people that doesn't seem like much. If it was a hard copy, well yeah, they gotta cover the cost of the manufacturing. But for a digital copy, to give you in perspective, Killer Instinct, you could get the soundtrack for Killer Instinct for just an extra $3. If you bought King of Fighters 14 or King of Fighters 13, the original listing of Baldur's Gate, the original listing of Planescape Torment on Good Old Games, they both came with their soundtracks for free. You bought the game and, oh look, we're going to put this little soundtrack in here for a bonus, you know? It's just that kind of mentality is gone, and that kind of annoys me. So yes, the music in Transistor is amazing.
How about the sound effects?
I think they were good. I don't actually remember the sound effects that much.
Now, you talked about the sword being a bit annoying. Are there any other criticisms of this game that you have?
I think it was too short, and it would have been nice if they had a larger variety of enemies. So, in a way, it counterbalanced itself. They didn't have a very good variety of enemies, but they kept it short, so it didn't really wear out its welcome. the menu where you're switching around your different abilities, it was such a chore. It was way more complicated than it needed to be.
So if you were to give it a final overall rating, what would you give it?
Good old GameSpot's 8.9. Like when they used to do 8.9s and 8.8.